What's going on, everybody? It is Seamus and Marcos with another episode of the Macro Perspective. Today, we've got an amazing guest, Reagan Davis. Reagan, would you mind just introducing yourself a little bit, who you are, what you do, and we can kind of start from there.
Yeah. Hi. I'm so thankful that you guys had me on today and just getting a chance to connect and chat with you guys is exciting. So, my name is Reagan. I am 26 years old. I am currently residing in South Carolina, from Greenville, South Carolina, completely opposite side of the US from you guys.
Yeah, we're in the Pacific.
But I do nutrition coaching. So, I get to coach women and help them live their best lives and ultimately find their confidence inside of their body and inside of their health. And it is just the best job ever. I love it so
That
much.
is that is so awesome. And obviously, we have a little bit of a connection here. Marcos, you guys have a little bit of connection. That's correct, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Marcus and I, he starting out, he actually coached me in my nutrition for a little bit. Was
Good times.
cool, good times, and then we worked together for a little bit, about a year as well. So
Yeah, I love it. Well, sounds like you've had some history in nutrition coaching, and being coached yourself. The first question I would always have to ask then is, how did you get involved in the nutrition coaching space? What made you so interested in it?
yeah, that's a good question, and it is one that comes with a little bit of a story too. So we can definitely
Please,
because
please.
when you have a deeper purpose and a deeper why to what you do, it drives your passion so much more. And
Mhm.
I've really seen that come into fruition with nutrition coaching because any job, just with the day-to-day, things can get, mundane, and you just try to get through the checklist of things. But for me, like my deeper why and my deeper passion is really what allows me to find the joy and find the fulfillment in the day-to-day of my job. So kind of starting out, I've always grown up playing sports, played softball and basketball growing up, and have always worked out, been in the gym, and that's been such a huge part of my life. So in college, I did play collegiate softball. So with college comes, pressure to perform, pressure to look a certain way. And with being in college, again, we were training 2 hours a day. We were practicing 3 hours a day, and my full focus, like, truly was softball. But in my sophomore year of college, I really started getting into the gym a little bit more,
Mhm.
and it became something in my life that I just wanted to have so much control over. And I realized that I did have so much control over my physique and the training and the nutrition side of things, and honestly just became an unhealthy obsession with going to the
Yeah.
gym and with training for softball. So basically, long story short, I developed binge eating disorder in college.
Mm.
So I would just eat probably about 800 calories through the day. I
Mhm.
was constantly moving and training and practicing all day. And then the evening would come and I would binge on everything. I mean, probably eat
Mm.
2,000 calories in one sitting, um,
Yeah.
and just like make myself sick through it. And then it was just this cycle of, okay, the next day I would restrict, go run, go lift weights, go practice, come home
Yeah.
after my roommates went to bed, eat everything in the kitchen. And then, like, it was just
Mm.
a cycle in this cycle.
Mm.
And I really didn't realize that it was bad until I started getting, obviously, like, got really skinny, had a lot of digestive issues, which comes with restriction and binging.
Yeah.
My college coach was saying stuff to me as, Reagan, you're getting skinny, like, you need to eat. And it just, like, fueled this. It made me mad because I was like, I know what I'm doing. I know how to work out. I know how to eat. And it just kind of built a lot of resentment
Mhm.
towards that, which kind of fueled it even more. And so that's something that went on for about a year and a half. Was in a relationship, thought that the smaller I could be and the prettier that I could look, like he would love me more, which is total BS now looking at it.
Yeah.
But just had such a desire to be skinny. That was my goal.
Yeah.
It wasn't performance focused. I mean, obviously, like I was very successful in softball, but my main goal was I wanted to be as small as I could.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing there. There is definitely a lot to unpack, but I appreciate you sharing that because that's a big health thing to overcome, and to share something like that. That's rough. When you are in the thick of going through something like that, you don't know if it's not normal or or whatever, right? Like you kind of justify it for yourself. And then until like a coach of yours says something, you're kind of like, what? I those aren't my beliefs. This is not going to work out, I did want to ask, you touched on something there, and maybe the listeners not like this. I'm curious, like, where did that belief come from of like, oh, I just need to be skinny or I need to look a certain way for the relationship? Where did that come from? If you've done that kind of introspection into it, because I've been there. I know Marcos knows my story, but I can, I've told everyone on the audience my story. But like, how did you get to that point of like, I just need to look a certain way, and you put yourself in that predicament?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And honestly, and guys may not be able to relate to it. I think some women may be able to, maybe guys can as well. But in high school, looking back, I feel like I never really struggled with body image or just like a desire to be super skinny, and also didn't date anyone in high school. Like I didn't, no guys were trying to pursue me and not really interested in me. Like I was just friends with everyone. And I think moving into the space in college where it's like, relationships were happening and a desire to just like be loved and be valued, I think a lot of that triggered the desire just to be super skinny.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense, and I can definitely understand that, right? We all want to fit in, we want to feel loved, we want to feel valued, and we're willing to do anything to get there. And sometimes that means putting our health at a detriment. So that is an amazing story, and I appreciate you sharing. With that being said, I'd love to kind of transition. Marcos, would you happen to have any questions off of that before we go?
Yeah, and I think that this is where I may have done a disservice of not getting to know Reagan a little more when coaching her. Obviously, it was like we had like a different type of like coaching relationship. She didn't really pursue me. She was given me as a coach, right? Which most people will look at someone's page, I resonate with their message, and therefore you go after working with said person. So, as I was learning the ropes of the company we were working for at the time, it was all about, analysis. I wasn't really getting to know people, right? And as a result, I wish I probably would have had more phone calls relating to these particular questions, to be honest, because it is your past. It actually brought a question in my head of like, is this like, so you grew up in South Carolina?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right. Okay. Right. So should have known that already. Right. I did know that, but like, I always like to ask that question too, though. And guys being, I guess, more, what's the word? More of gentlemen, right? I think it's just like, what I'm so used to and accustomed to, what I grew up with, my high schools here in Las Vegas, far different. Guys were chasing tail as if it was going out of style, that was it, and maybe it's because of the landscape of Las Vegas, and you're immediately involved in like a nightlife culture as a result of your city, right? So a lot of people like get into college and deal with what you just described, I feel like, right? Like guys are pursuing girls pursuing guys, fraternities, sororities, right? Just a whole different culture. And for me, by the time I got there, I'm like, this shit is kind of played out. We've already been doing this for the last 4 years. I don't need an extension of high school anymore. I'm processing what you said, Reagan. I'm like, oh, that happened to me when I was like 14, and then for you, it was like 18. But my question after hearing that is, like what was like growing up in your city, in your town, and I guess like maybe turning a blind eye to like guys wanting to pursue you in a relationship standpoint? Was it because you were just so involved with like your sport and like school as a whole, or did you just not? It was just not on your radar.
Yeah, that's a good point, because you don't really think about how everyone really does grow up so different depending on where they're from, like cultural wise. Growing up, I mean, it is a small town, and everyone, I mean, if you did something, everyone found out about it, but very the Bible Belt, very conservative. Like,
Yeah.
high school was just very goody goody. Like, if we were all just good kids. And I mean,
Always
obviously,
wearing the dock shoes. They're wearing some loafers, aren't they? They're like literally right, the khakis and the Sperry's. Oh yeah, I already know.
They're looking too good. They're looking too good.
But yeah, so it's like, you know, senior year, maybe you start getting into some stuff, but it's like you're pretty sheltered almost, a little bit. It's a little bit, but then you go off to college and it's completely different, and you see people that you didn't grow up with. So I think that kind of played a role into it.
Yeah. And well, it's that's literally what I thought. It's like obviously knowing that region of the world, right? I guess the US, it is very culturally different. Even the vibe I got with just going to Tennessee 2 weeks ago, I'm just like, it's not a bad different, but it's different, you know? And like it was more about conversation and more about it, not who's fucking who, you know what I mean? Like that was Vegas, that was high school. It was literally like a trophy contest to see like how many people you'd been with by the time you're a junior in high school, right? Like literally a measuring contest, and it was silly, you know? And I mean, this is probably too much info, but hey, you know, we're being personal here. It wasn't always tense, you know what I'm saying? Like, you
just gotta rack them up, Marcos. Well, it's just you gotta rack them up, brother.
We would joke, and this is terrible because the softball girls where I grew up were a little thicker.
Yeah,
we would be calling them the slump busters. Whenever you're slumping, and they would say that some of the particular girls, I won't mention them by name, were looking real good because their batting average was starting to tank, and it was so terrible. And God Almighty, like,
Marcos, I am dying over here, man.
Hey,
no, I can relate with Reagan though, because I was an athlete in high school and college as well. I wrestled, and it's funny. Marcos is talking about like softball girls, volleyball girls, and like soccer girls, and it's like, as a wrestler, I'm just gonna be honest with you. I'm in LA, so Marcos is talking about that dating lifestyle in Vegas. It's very much like that in Los Angeles. It was very much like guys just chasing everybody, and it's like, I mean, at one point, someone was like, "What's the flavor of the week?" You know, like it's just kind of like that. And I guess it's just a little bit more loose here, or I would say not so.
West Coast versus East Coast vibes, man.
The West Coast vibes is just more like that. So what you're talking about though, Marcos, and I agree, and Reagan too, with college was interesting because once I got to college though, I had already kind of gone through that phase of like, I've dated multiple women, I've had like a serious relationship, and then like now in college, I'm with my college sweetheart now. We've been together for like 7-8 years, you know, and that was the difference. I think at that point, I feel like maybe for me, I had gotten that out of my system, I guess, you know, or that kind of like, oh, I just need a date and all that. But this is not a dating podcast, so I'm going to move this.
No, but it does shape the landscape of the psychology though, right? Like,
but it definitely does. It definitely comes to show where your mind was at. And I think a lot of females can, and not just females, but you know, most males have their issues too. I dealt with body dysmorphia. I was a wrestler, so like I had to deal with weight issues my whole life and the way I look at myself. So I understand where you're coming from, the whole binging thing, eating things randomly and having all these weird things. So I hear that. But I definitely want to move the conversation, Reagan, to, so now you've been coaching, and tell us about coaching. You're coaching women particularly with similar issues. Is it just all women? Is it performance based? Give us a little bit of lowdown on how you coach. You don't have to go too deep into the nuance. It's just the generalities, and we can go from there, right?
Yeah. So kind of like moving how I got into it. is in college, I randomly started my Instagram. I was like, I am just going to start posting, my food, just be vulnerable and be open. Now, given my college was about 700, 800 people, very small.
What was your high school?
My high school was bigger than my college.
Oh, okay. Jesus.
What? Were you like a private college? Was it private?
It was a Christian college. Yeah.
Oh, okay, got you. That makes sense.
Yeah. So it started my Instagram. Basically, everything I posted on there, everyone that I had class with saw it. So I started talking about my eating disorder and struggles on there, which was extremely uncomfortable. But as I started doing that, I had girls that I knew and just random people that I connected with on Instagram started sharing with me how they struggled with the same thing. And that's kind of how I got through my eating disorder and didn't feel so alone in it, but also realized that there was a need for someone to speak on this in the space.
Yeah.
And I felt that, and I still sometimes do feel that way, that those struggles aren't necessarily always talked about on Instagram, or they're not pretty. Like there's some shame that comes with it, and embarrassment too. I mean, like who wants to say, hey, I just ate a whole gallon of ice cream last night? Like who wants to talk about that?
Yeah. Marcos. Hey, I love Marcos.
I literally did that last night. I
saw it all.
I literally was posting about it because I'm like, you're right. This isn't to be the freaking highlight reels. And I was just like, I felt inspired, and maybe we were going to talk about this today. Just something came over me.
Yeah.
But that same thing. It's like, okay. Anyway, back to what you were saying. Yeah.
No, it makes so much sense. I think, like you said, Reagan, everything is a lot of highlight reels, the best, the ups. It's like, that's only a snapshot of the reality. So yeah, I'll let you take it back.
Yeah, no, that's so true, Marcos. I mean, it's especially as our job as nutrition coaches, it's this pressure to perform and look and eat a certain way. And but I think when you're able to just be real and be vulnerable, then you connect with so many more people. So sorry, I'm kind of jumping around. So getting to coaching, I work with women, and I do have a few men clients. And I enjoy working with men too. I mean, I think from the emotional standpoint, sometimes they're maybe not as emotionally connected to food, so it can be a little bit more objective. And I do find that they really do respect me, but also it's a space that I feel that some of the men that I've coached are very vulnerable and just open with me, which is like, it's cool to see. But with the women that I coach, I do, since I've talked about my disordered eating and just kind of been vulnerable about that on Instagram, I feel that I tend to connect and call women that do struggle with those same things or have struggled with those same things to work with me. And I think it gives me an advantage because I understand where they're coming from. And I'm not a registered dietitian. So someone that has a full-on eating disorder, like clinically, I can't work with them. Right. But realistically, like we all have disordered eating habits. And that's something that I really enjoy working through with clients, with more of the human behavior and more of the mindset side of things.
Yeah. I love that.
It's so cool to see. But I think because I've been in their shoes, I'm able to help them and connect with them on a deeper level.
Yeah.
I want to go ahead, Mark.
Sorry. Yeah. When you mentioned that, like college, like I actually, like, it brought me back because sometimes it's like you hear a story and it leads to some reminiscing. I remember eating like so clean paleo in the beginning CrossFit phases because I thought it was like my image will be a direct result of my performance. And to some degree, I feel like I had low inflammation and things were good. Granted, I then injured myself trying to lift too much, right? But I remember going through that same phase of like, I'd go home and I'd smash an entire trail mix bag from Trader Joe's, like no remorse. And that was easily 2,000 calories in like an evening. But you literally mentioned that, like, I'm just going to eat everything in the pantry, and brought me back to that. And it's that those behaviors still stick. That happened to me literally last night. When I started like showing that on my stories, it's that behavior still exists in me. I know it probably still exists in you, and fine tuning your routine to make sure that doesn't happen. Like, again, that's, I feel like, part of what I wanted to talk about yesterday. It's like, sometimes, you know, the resistance takes over, and the thing that you're so resistant to, like diving into whatever bag of whatever it is, you know, it consumes you a little bit. And while it sucks, you got to get back on your horse the next day, right? Which is part of what we talked about on episode 2, right? So
no, I love that. No, like Regan, I'm the same way. Like, I got sick last week, and I'll just be honest with y'all. Like, I got sick. Marcos came to my aid. He was my hero. He covered me, so I really owe him. So everyone, please give Marcos some love. But I said, you know what? Like, I'm just gonna take this time, and I'm gonna be sloth. Like, I'm just gonna do it. You know, you know, I watched all my TV shows I needed to catch up on. I ate whatever I wanted. I did the thing, and you know, I feel like for me, just speaking on like what Marcos was talking about, is that behavior is still true in me. Like, I am nowhere near perfect. I am not always hitting my calories, my macros. I'm not always hitting my program so good like a freaking robot. I still have these behaviors where, like, if it's a Friday night, it's a Saturday night, my girlfriend will be like, oh, here he goes. He wants to go get a dessert or something. And that happened that week. And for me, like, I found it in myself to just, I'm okay to give in to that. Just knowing that when I'm done being sick, though, we're back on plan. And that plan is like, you know, 80-20, 90-10, you know, 90-10% good. And I just try not to beat myself up. And is that something you try to do with your clients, where you just try to tell them, like, just get back on plan? Like, how do you tell them, like, if they,
how do you get them back on plan,
quote unquote messed up? Yeah, exactly, like Marco said.
We're all human, and we're all going to mess up. And I think if we put the expectation on ourselves to be perfect, we're setting ourselves up for failure. But something that I'm constantly reminding clients is, when you're aware of something and when you can create awareness around something, you're able to change it. When I was going through my eating disorder, I had no awareness. I had no clue that nothing was wrong, and no clue what was triggering that action. But with clients, rather than just brushing it off and saying like, okay, get back on track next week, you know, we'll hop on the phone, and I'm saying, okay, you binged this weekend, right? You overate.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's one day. Like, it's not the end of the world, but let's go back to that day and figure out what triggered that action to happen.
Yeah.
We can go back to that trigger and kind of work backwards from there. We're able to do better next time. So if that trigger comes up again, then here's something else that we can do instead of turning to food. So then that allows us to plan a lot of if-then statements. So, you know, if I skip breakfast, if I don't have time to make breakfast, instead of skipping it, I'm going to grab a banana and a pre-made protein shake. So I'm not later in the day and overeating or whatever. But that's the biggest thing, is creating awareness inside of that, and not just brushing it off. Because I think when we brush it off and just kind of sweep it under the rug, we're just kind of putting a Band-Aid over it, because the reality is there's something that triggered that action. And sometimes you just want to eat a whole pizza, and just because you want it, that's fine. When it comes to
Marcos is looking like, yeah, I do want to just
yeah.
Dude, that was 2 Saturdays ago. Well, I mean, we're hanging out with the you know, my kids and my friend Adam's kids, and we're like, there's nothing really around our area that's like gonna like fit the bill. And it's Domino's, and literally just crushed way too much food, too much sugar, and that's just like. But again, too, it's like, I joked with Adam today. I was like, dude, my best body is gonna happen when I'm 35, 5 years from now, you know, and because I know I literally can identify, it's that witching hour of between 5 to 8 p.m. where it's just like, fuck it, I don't care today. The damn kids are just, and they're not even doing anything wrong. It's just like, stresses me out for no reason.
There's Legos on the floor. I'm done. No, I hear. I love what you said there of bringing awareness, what the trigger is, but I also love what you said about the if-thens. I've never really thought about like the if-then, like at little things, like, oh, if we skip breakfast, then we could do this. Oh, if this did happen, then we could do this. Man, that's really cool. I mean, I would like to kind of touch on that a little bit here. Like, what are usual go-to if-then scenarios, or like, what do you see more often? I love that breakfast one. I'm gonna have to steal that one from you for sure.
Yeah, it just allows you to create so much more success. And like I said, some days you want to have pizza and ice cream, and that's okay.
Mhm.
But when there's a negative connotation and you're beating yourself up about it, then that's kind of when we can dig into it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But with the if-then statements, here an example that I see a big one is, I'm feeling anxious, or I'm very emotional. I'm feeling very emotional. Let's say my boyfriend and I got into a fight, and I'm feeling not seen, not heard. So I'm just going to eat everything in the pantry and
Yeah.
binge, right?
Mhm.
So moving forward, if I get upset, if I get emotional, then I will go on a drive and listen to music. Then I will go on a
Mm.
then I will read. And when you're able to create, one of my friends said this to me and it has stuck with me, but you have to put space between the thought and the action in that scenario,
Mm.
and that creates awareness. And then let's say you go on a walk or you go on a drive and you create that space, and you come back and you still want a serving of ice cream, then give yourself that. But it keeps you
Yeah.
from seeing it as something to kind of like fill that void, if that makes sense.
That is so freaking profound. I love that you said that. Like, here's the stressful thing. Give me some space. And then even if I don't get this, like, even if I get the space, if I still want it, that's all right. We're gonna move on, because now the connotation of it being like a stress response, it's you had some time to think about it. Maybe you just want it now. That's okay. But at least it's not a response of, hey, I'm just stressed. I just want ice cream right now.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Marcos, anything on that?
Your health too, but then also like really, I mean, I'm single, but you guys are married and in a relationship, and even I guess like with communication with the relationships, like instead of snapping back on your partner right away, creating that space, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in a relationship for 8 years. I think I'm going backwards in my grades on this.
Yeah, two
It's
kids,
a hard one.
2 kids, and 5 years of marriage almost. Is where you start to just be a little snappier. And again, but you also know your audience, right? Like my wife will dish it and she'll take it, right? But like sometimes just being blunt and getting straight, she's like, "Don't fuck around, just get to the point." I'm like, "All right, well, I'm feeling this way," and I said it a couple mornings, like 2 weeks ago, and I'm usually, what you just said, like I'm gonna think about it, process her emotions, blah blah blah, like all those things, right? Like what a normal nutrition coach would do when you're thinking about how to process a conversation. And I just did it, and I shit you not, I actually got a better result. I'm like, well, shit. Like, I wish I would have just done that from the get go. I'm just saying how I feel a little bit in the moment. She's like, oh, you don't talk to me that way ever. Like, what's going on? I was like, yeah, this is a point of contention. I want to fix this thing, and literally, it's like since then that thing's been resolved. I was like, oh shit, that was an easy thing. And yeah, you're right though. Like being a conversationalist with your significant other and talking about points of contention, it's mainly 4 things, right? And the biggest one is usually financial related amongst every couple, right? And it's usually, it's communication, just talking, it's finances, it's obviously sex. That's another big one, right? If that's not happening, couples usually get a little bit, a little upset about it. And then the last one is typically just like, having your own time, you time in addition to like the family time. So, if those 4 things can be worked together and they make sense, then the relationship is whole. So, yeah.
I love those. I'm gonna have to steal that, Marcos. And here's the thing, with me and my lady, we've been together 8 years, not married yet. Got to put the ring on it. It's gonna happen. She is a registered dietitian, Reagan. So I know I had mentioned registered dietitian before, and she has had her story, and I'll let her tell that story one day on here if she wants. But with that being said, with her, it very much is sometimes like it's like a podcast when I have a conversation with her about things, and I feel like we just pop off. Like it's like I wish people had recorded us as we're talking, because there's one days we just go deep into a topic. Like I know Marcos and I can go deep into, I don't know, we can talk about like, oh, how would you crush this CrossFit workout? What kind of energy systems would you utilize? Like how would you, we can get so nuanced. she and I will get so nuanced. And like 2 hours later, we are like hip hop rap battling it out or something too. Like it's a fun thing. But I know as well when it can get bad. And talking about the relationships, I think sometimes for me, space, like you are 100% right. I have to give her the space to have her emotions, like but whether that's frustrated, either if it's with me, with her work, with her school, because she's doing her master's, like I just got to give her that space to do that and give her the place to do that. And if I don't, well, people will compensate, she'll be more frustrated or she'll do something that, a little more angry, or probably go eat something, or binge or whatever. Right. So I 100% agree with that. Marcos, would you happen to have any other question for Reagan, like that you were thinking of in terms of her coaching as well?
Well, she touched like it's primarily women. Like how, like you said, it's just a few men. Like it's like a handful, right? Yeah.
Which a lot of the men are focused on performance, obviously, and want to gain muscle and gain some weight. So that's a cool, it's neat to have that side of things where everyone is not super,
empathizing, like,
yes.
yeah.
And then I do have the females too that, want to gain muscle and eat more and like have that desire, but it's with, this, like a majority of women just want to lose weight. They're already just under eating. So you just start from that place.
Exactly. Wait, you're not talking like they just only doing 800 calories and doing a bunch of cardio and hoping to get results, right? Again, like that's not what they're doing, are they?
And then they're on the semaglutide Kardashian drug, and then they're doing everything else that Hollywood's doing, and no. Well, so I think actually this leads me into a good question though, right? If you were to say, like, protocol, right? Like in your first month with somebody, like what is it that you're trying to address and trying to get instilled into? I don't care if it's a performance person or a woman that just, like you just said, wants to lose weight. Like do you have like a big 3, a big 5? Like what is it that you're looking for?
So I haven't come up with my exact system name yet wise.
You don't need it. You don't need it.
I don't need it. The first month, honestly, though, is all about instilling confidence. Just because a lot of people, there's so much information out there, obviously information overload. We're so confused. Like, what the heck do we even do? And just such a lack of confidence inside of their health. And a quote that has stuck with me from Ed Milet, he said, you build self-confidence through fulfilling the promises that you make to yourself.
I love that.
Freaking yes. And I
got to hang with Ed like a few times.
Are you serious?
Yes, he is
so
amazing.
Jealous.
You'll have to hang with him, but apologies. I just love Ed Milet, guys. Sorry.
No, that's incredible.
Wait, Seamus, are you in the Arte Syndicate?
No. I don't think I can afford the Arte. No, he was just at a few conferences that I was at. Okay. One was at one of the nutrition conferences that we were part of before as well. And I got his book and all that stuff. And he's just he's an out of life character. He's an over the top character, and I really respect him. So sorry, go ahead, Reagan.
No, that's incredible. Yeah, his book, What the Power of One More. If anyone's listening, definitely recommend.
Please.
Is that his first book or is that the most recent one?
I think it just came out last year. That one, the most recent one. Yeah.
So. But yeah, the first month, honestly, is just all about instilling confidence and just focusing on the little habits. So getting a walk in daily, going to the gym 3 times a week when they actually say they're going to go to the gym, teaching them how to build their plates, teaching them how to eat. A lot of times figuring out, like weekends and how to structure weekends and goals that we can set on the weekends and working around relationship with food, like just very fundamental things, but just instilling that confidence of sometimes I'll be 2 weeks in with a client and they're like, oh my gosh, you've already helped me so much. Like I did so great this weekend. I didn't overeat when I came back from drinking or like when I went out with friends, whatever, but just so much, just like the little confidence win. So that's kind of the first month is just building that value. And that self value through their actions.
And then what do you bridge to? So you go from confidence to, we're going to build your plan right now. Wait, you're going from confidence to.
As we're building confidence, typically working on building their nutrition layout as far as teaching them how to eat, eventually going into tracking their calories and protein, and most of the time slowly letting their hunger pick up and getting their body just to a place where the goal is for everything to function optimally. So improve their stress, hunger, sleep, energy, digestion, the SHREDS model from Sam Miller. But that's kind of the goal inside of that. And then once we get to that place where they're making this lifestyle, they feel good, then we can talk about more of the periodization side of things of, okay, you have a fat loss goal. Like, we've already seen this huge physique change through increasing calories and through X, Y, and Z, but now you have a desire to lose fat. This is kind of when we can periodize this out. So it's hard when people come to you with a goal of, hey, I want to lose this amount by summer, but they're extremely under eating. There's so many things we have to work on before just jumping into that.
Yeah. I freaking love that right there. I love what you said. Just like the first month alone, like let's just say month 1, you were just literally building confidence. That right there is so crucial. I mean, so crucial for buying, right? It's a little tough sometimes because a client can get confident, but if they don't see results, they're kind of like, what am I doing here, right? But yeah, you are seeing results of like, hey, my weekend wasn't so crazy. I did get my workouts in. I did drink my water. I got my steps in. Sure, it didn't equate to the scale. Okay, but guess what? Now we're priming your metabolism. And like, it sounds like you have the exact right model, right? You're for them, you're getting that next phase. You're doing the tracking. Now you're in this periodized form. It's amazing. I just think that sometimes people that are listening to this need to remember that sometimes you need to be built up to be in the right position to then for you to get to your goal. Sometimes you cannot just go into a coach, and just anyone listening here, if you are going to hire a coach, whether it's Marcos, Reagan, or I, it's like you cannot just get there and go, oh, we're gonna get right to my goal in 90 days. It's probably not going to work out like that. We've got to have a little parlay. You and I have to build a little repertoire, right? We need to see what your habits and your tics are and what you're doing. And from there, usually you'll get something. I love that. Marcos, anything to ask on that?
I think I just found your model for you. I know you say you don't have it, but like it's great because you're like, phase 1's confidence, phase 2 fundamental tracking skills, and basically objectify, right? Phase 3, let's talk about periodization and where we can actually now take you. And
boom.
I mean, I think we all have like our own variation of it. Like I know on your podcast I talked about like baseline. Like I want to establish a baseline, and to do that, you need to develop confidence. It's just like, it doesn't matter if I'm picking arbitrary words to define like what they're coming in and doing. But what it is like, I think we all kind of identify certain things. Like I'm looking for these cues. I'm looking for these words to be said by the person. And when I hear that, I know it's like we're ready for the next step, right? So like you just said, oh my God, I crushed the weekend. Cool. Like we can have a 7-day streak. Fucking awesome. Right? Like and or by week 3, usually because it was CrossFitters when I like broke into this, by week 3 they'd be like, how am I losing weight and performing better? And I'd be like, and like,
because you're eating.
And everybody at the gym is like, someone didn't see me for a month and they said I look so much better. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, yeah. Like when I started to hear those cues, I knew it was like, all right, this person's on board for at least another 3-4 months, like guaranteed.
Yeah. Ramp it up.
So,
no, I love that.
So Seamus, you wrote this. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, Seamus wrote this other question, like, and I think you kind of covered this, but I think you can elaborate a little more. Like, what is your message to when you're working with most of your clients? Like, what is your key message to people?
Ooh, I've never thought about this before.
Well, that is a good one. That is interesting. Marcos, do you have one? Maybe that might spark a little bit in Reagan and put her things. Do
we really want to go down this rabbit hole?
Well, have the pizza, eat it too, and you're good.
No, like okay. A lot of this happened this weekend. There was a lot of conversation with me and my family, and I don't know. I haven't discussed this on here, But my main objective now that I feel like I've been called to do is creating a nonprofit entity that helps everybody understand basically the 10 pillars of health that we were talking about, Seamus, on that one episode, right? Mm-hmm. And I want to create something that we can go into schools with and create this educational model that can touch on each one of these things, kind of abbreviated and through other professionals. Like, because I'm not the best person when it comes to psychology or emotional health or even nutrition. Definitely not training. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, to be honest with you. Like, I know a few things, but I'm not a professor on that. I didn't go to study biomechanics. But when I realized that the message that I want to have as part of like that organization is you got to understand the axioms. And that's why my company is named that, right? There are fundamental principles and fundamental truths that are just truths. And you have to come to accept them. And the more you know about those things, and the more that you can regurgitate those simple axioms, the better you will be when you're learning more complex things, right? So you need those fundamentals in order to then move to those deeper things. So that's my message. Understand the axioms.
No, I love that. And maybe I'll touch on mine a little bit, Reagan, while maybe you're still formulating a little bit. My history with fitness, nutrition, I've managed multiple fitness facilities. I've gone through multiple mentors and all these things. And, I got my degree in this stuff. And it's so funny because as much as I know all these technical jargons and stuff like that, it does not matter at all. I can give someone the protocol to like the answer to the cancer. They don't really care unless they know you care, right? Yeah. Unless they know you care, or unless they know that like you're in it with them. But just long story short, like my biggest goal is to get to the point where I am creating optimal health with somebody, get them where they need to be with their fitness, their nutrition, their overall health and life, that it's on autopilot, that they don't need me. That's it. Like, that's my mission. I got to the point where I've helped people lose 100 pounds. I'm like, perfect. You don't need me anymore, right? But they just want to be with me. That's great. I love that. Great. Yeah. Cool. I still have a reoccurring client. Amazing. But for me, it isn't about like, oh, it's getting the clients to a point where this is their thing, their own journey. And that takes a lot of education. That takes a lot of belief breaking. That takes a lot of identity shifting. And I know Marcos and I talked about this just on a one-on-one call. Like, it's on about atomic habits and stuff. It's not even about, oh yeah, we worked on this habit of maybe your food tracking, like you talked about, Reagan, right? But what is that food tracking doing for you? Are you becoming more aware, like you've talked about? Are you becoming more, in tune with your body to know, oh, these are my triggers. These are the things. And I just want to be that person, just a small piece in their life to be like, okay, look, this one little nudge, I'll nudge you this way, nudge you that way. And then look, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, wow, whether you're 20 pounds to 100 pounds down, whatever it is, you are a different person entirely. That's my kind of goal with somebody.
True.
Yeah. So it sounds like my message, if I was going to give it one word, is axioms. Seamus's is autonomy, right? Yeah. You're getting to do it on their own. And then obviously you can tell your spiel and then you can give a word. Well, I'll sum it up for you.
Well, I would say my word is purpose, and finding purpose inside of their health, and just seeing how taking care of their health and just valuing themselves through that way gives them purpose in every single other area of their life. Because I've been to the point where I was super skinny. I've been to the point where I was, tracking my food to a T, but like it just doesn't give you any purpose if you can't take the confidence and just like the love you have for yourself in one area of your life and let it spill over into every other area of your life. So that's the biggest thing with me, is that if a client gets a transformation that they want, that is incredible. But for someone to say like, hey, I finally love myself again and I'm enjoying training and I'm not stressing about food every single day, regardless of what their physique looks like that just brings me so much joy. And like, that's my ultimate goal. So I would say purpose.
Sounds like purpose and self-love. I love that.
Yeah. That's you said something like immediately, and of course, both Seamus and I work for another company that is in health space and wellness. And most of these people come in thinking that just simply signing up gets them the result. They don't even know their purpose yet. And it is our goal to actually get that out of them. And I'm like, they're like, we signed up for the program and the program is the answer. And I'm like, no, like your purpose is the answer. This is to help optimize the things you like to do. And one of the patients I talked to today, man, like I didn't do as hot this week because we went out and we were in, middle of nowhere, Kentucky or whatever it was. And he talked about his experience and I was like, but did you have fun? And it was amazing. We thought these animals were extinct and there was flying squirrels literally in our cabin. And I'm like, like that alone is a fun experience and a memorable one. I don't give a shit that you didn't have your Fairlife shake at noon, right? Like I care about the fact that like you talked to me about it. You already know like what you talked about earlier, the if then, right? If I'm in a situation where I'm with the boys and having fun, then I'm probably not going to be as perfect, but I'm ready to get back to it when I get home. So purpose is a big one. And it's one that most people never even figure out. And you can't do this, like literally you can't sign up for something like I'm doing it for my health. You and everybody else, yet we still have a 50% obesity rating, right? For the US, right?
Yeah. No, that's amazing.
I think purpose drives everything. Like I was talking about at the beginning. I mean, with our jobs, it's emotional a toll sometimes. Like it is hard to deal with people with their nutrition and their like relationship with food. Like it is emotional taxing sometimes. But with us, like when you have the purpose behind it, it drives you to do it. And same thing with your health too. Like when you have a purpose and a goal with your health, that drives the small actions that you need to do daily. That's when joy is found in the process too, I think, rather than just like something that I've been thinking about recently is joy and happiness. And happiness is based on a circumstance. Like happiness is, oh, my body looks good today. I'm happy, right? Oh, I don't feel great this morning and the scale's up 2 pounds. I'm not happy anymore. But like when you have joy, when you have purpose, there's a deeper rooted meaning to why you're doing what you're doing. And you may be like, I don't look the best today, but there's joy still. And so that's like something that I've really been reflecting on recently, and just remembering the purpose and the why behind things.
I want to touch on that. If I could. I have a lot of conversations about happiness and joy. I tell Marcos all the time, I'm like, if it wasn't for my degree in kinesiology, it probably would have been in philosophy. Just because I like to sit and think and read books, and I'm a big Ayn Rand, Fountainhead, or like Atlas Shrugged fan. So no, but in all seriousness, I remember having a conversation with somebody. I'm like, I don't think happiness is a virtue that I chase personally for myself, because like you just said, happiness is this area where it's outside circumstances, or it's kind of like what's going on externally. So you have to, allow things to come in for you to feel happy. However, you're right. If you have a joy, a purpose inside you, it doesn't matter if it's raining or it's nice outside. You're just going to do the thing you're still going to do. It's a beautiful day, no matter what. Oh, it's raining. It's a beautiful day. It's sunny. It's a beautiful day. You don't let those outside circumstances ruin things for you, because you have a deeper rooted purpose. And sometimes with that even deeper rooted purpose, it may not be perfect. The actions, the goals, whatever it is, may not be perfect, but you are in it and you feel good because you're constantly just working on that little internal struggle. And I think that's where a lot of life comes from. So I appreciate what you're saying there about joy, about happiness. It's a bigger conversation, but I love that you're helping clients find that.
Yeah. I'm sure. I mean, there could be a whole podcast done on just like joy and happiness.
Yeah, the purpose and the journey and the joy and all those things, like mine are walking in right now, right? That's my main purpose, as you hear it probably in the background. Hold on.
The little ones are coming in. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Not life.
The dad life. I'm not there yet. So if anyone wants to give tips on the comments, let them know.
Yeah, the joy and the purpose, and like, why am I going to push myself this hard? And it, like, you have to have like varying degrees of like purpose, right? There's like occupational purpose, right? And then there's purpose and self-intent, right? And I think a lot of the things I've delved into this year has been like finding self and promoting self-growth, right? And that growth mindset, which I thought it was helping grow other people was enough of a growth mindset. But no, if you're not feeding into yourself, then your journey kind of sucks too as a coach. And shoot, in the last 5 weeks, I feel like I'm much happier as a result of pushing my own purpose and growth. And it's cool because now I'm asking different questions to people. I'm asking, are you having fun? Are you doing these things? And literally it's all been brought on by reading a little bit more, which I never did in the past. And I didn't even know that there was different passions and purposes that could be expressed, or I didn't know that the desire for learning is something that a lot of people kind of put away once they kind of get into a career. I'm about to have a conversation with a client tomorrow about that because they feel like they've been overly taxed, right? They're dealing with some stressors, and she like sent me her list of her 5 things the next week. It's like High Rocks, the Open for 3 weeks, and then another High Rocks event. And she's just like, but I haven't been able to train. I haven't been able to do this. And I'm like, are you doing anything else that's fun? Because it doesn't sound like you're having fun with any of your training anymore. Training's supposed to be fun, right? Like, and so I'm going to have that conversation, and hopefully I'll ask that question. Like, you probably need to put some thought into learning something new, like learning whatever it is, like grab a book, grab a new hobby, because, right now the other hobbies have become work to a degree that it's just not even fun. And, none of that would have even thought to be something I'd question this person with if I hadn't done the exact same thing. So it's kind of cool, right? When you find your own purpose as a coach and find your own purpose in yourself, some of those things are reflected into what you're talking about. And that's my big one right now. So that's
look at you growing, Marcos.
Look at that. I didn't even know. Yeah, like, talking about that growth. I didn't even realize I was in a fucking fixed mindset, and I work with people that wrote books on it. Like, God. It's crazy.
Man, Carol Dweck's gonna be happy with you.
I don't even know who that is.
That's mindset right there. That's probably the number one book on mindset. She's the expert on it. Since you're a parent, there is a chapter on parenting on growth, fixed mindset, but she gives you one scenario and gives you 4 responses, and basically each response is how most parents would respond, but 1 or 2 is usually the best. When you get to that chapter, it'll blow your mind. So I'm gonna let you
send me the book so I'll read it. But this talks about the chapter I'm currently in the book I'm on, about having fun with your kids. And sometimes the most memorable moments are when you, the parent, are trying to have fun with the kid, and the kid's not having any fun, because you're like, you laugh about all the shit that went wrong. Literally yesterday for me, right? And it talked about, remember, if your kid's not having fun and you're not also having fun, you're not having fun. That's basically what it said. And like, that's a very dumb moment, but like that matters in the connection of that fun moment, and that could be purpose-filled. And again, I look back to, but this book talks about reminiscing a lot too, and like how those things were processed. I literally looked back to 2 weekends ago. I was like, my kid was out there having fun. I was having a good time. The littlest one was having a good time. It's cool, and I'm like, oh yeah, like these are cool points. These are cool points.
I'm gonna ask Reagan what she's having fun, but I'm the same way. I was training for like the last 8-9 months. I do jujitsu now, and I wasn't doing that because I had an injury and it was interfering with work. And I actually had someone like kind of touch me on the shoulder, like, hey, like you should come join us for jiu-jitsu, because they could sense that I just was not having fun. I was training, I was getting up, I was doing the thing, I was meal prepping, I was going to sleep, I was doing everything right, like you said, Marcos, like that client of yours doing everything right, but there was no sense of spontaneity, joy, that that bon voyage of life, that just that like that like just that energy that you're squeezing the juice a little bit. And sometimes you need to have that, and you need to plan it. Like, I know it sounds weird, but I put in my planner, like I highlight it, and fun is pink. So I put pink, like there has to be some pink in my planner, because you have to have spontaneity time. You have to have these times where there is uncertainty, and you're like, whether it's physical, whether it's like a date night, or whether it's just something with people where it's like there is no actual plan. It's just being there, and then you see how it grows. I think we need a lot more of that sometimes. You can get so lost in a training program, a nutrition plan, or just getting lost in your goal that you're like, what am I even doing this for? Like, what is this even fun for? But yeah, Reagan, for you, like, how do you keep it fun, whether that's for yourself or your clients?
Yeah. Are you training for anything? Is there something that you're motivated for right now? Has it been like a new challenge?
Yeah. So for me, I love the growth and fixed mindset thing. I actually signed up for a High Rocks. And
What is that exactly?
In Dallas? Are you doing the one in Dallas? You
Yeah.
should. I'll make you meet up with Tori. I'll literally like.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Is
What
that
is
the one
this
in
High Rocks?
5 weeks?
Yeah.
Or-
so
yeah.
High Rocks it's very big in the UK, but in short, it's in like a big convention center. So every event is the same. It's 1,000-meter row, 1,000-meter ski, farmer's carry, sled pull, sled push, 100 wall balls, burpee broad jumps, and sandbag lunges. So
Sounds like fun.
there's 8 different events. In between each event is it's a 0.6 mile run in between every station. So
It's British, so it's gonna be metric. It's 1K. Call it what it is. Come on.
Yes.
Get the right metric, all right.
Okay. But yeah, I literally just randomly signed up for it. I had a client that's doing it, and I was like, you know what? I want to do this. And now the more that I talk to people, I'm like, this is gonna kick my butt. But
Yeah.
I got connected with Hunter McIntyre, which are you guys familiar with him?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, He's like the biggest name in that particular event. But Hunter was a Spartan racer initially, right?
Iron
and then
Man,
Ironman, all that stuff.
I'll have to check him out real quick.
He's the top dog. You know,
Top dog.
You know, my other training partner, Lauren Weeks, is the top dog for the females, and she did it like 7 months pregnant and still crushed people.
Wow.
Yo, you're joking.
I'm serious. Look it up. She literally is like on one of the videos. You see like a bump, and she's competing at High Rocks.
Yeah.
What a beast.
Yeah.
What a
Anyway,
beast.
keep going.
But I'm doing his programming, so that's in what 49 days or something, or 42 days, and then I'm doing a half marathon in 2 weeks. So coming from like the side of training that I have done with bodybuilding, a little bit of CrossFit, this is very in space for me, but it's fun, and honestly, like training is my fun. It's 2 hours of my day that I literally don't think about anything else. It is all about me, like first thing in the morning. And I think that helps me mentally because I get to pour into myself and just focus on me before I just give the clients.
I love what you said
Is
there.
it as exciting as like that initial surge of signing up for CrossFit? You know what I mean? Because it's like you're like, you're on pins and needles. Like, I'm not good at this thing. Like, and it's like kind of exciting because you're like, I'm getting better like every day.
Yeah. Well, and a growth mindset too, right? Like you suck at something, but then you slowly get better at it and you see it as an opportunity to improve. But then getting back to the confidence thing, I feel like I've become more secure and confident in myself through training because, you know, you get confident through doing things that you've never done before. So even like 100 wall balls, I've never done that before, or skied 1,000 meters. Like I've never done that before.
You've never done Karen? Come on, you've been doing some CrossFit workouts, Reagan. You've never done Karen?
It just hasn't come up on the rotation. Just hasn't come up on the rotation.
Like, I mean, going back to baseline stuff, fire that coach at that CrossFit gym.
They need to get some Karen up in there.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a staple. Like if I have a new person, I know like people have to appeal to everybody at the gym, but like as part of the baseline assessment that they do for most people, man, like there's so many good original girl workouts from 12 years ago that will still kick anybody's ass. Like I look at that workout right now, I'm like, oof, you know, 150 wall balls, ugh, you know.
That was horrible. I remember those. Those are horrible, dude. When I was doing, oh my gosh. But I wanted to touch on what you said there, Reagan, is I pour into myself before I go into my day. Dude, that is so powerful. I remember my girlfriend saying something too. She goes, I only pour back, or I only give back when I'm overflowing. Right? Like she's like, I can only give back when I'm overflowing. And it's like, that's so true, where it's like
that should be an Etsy t-shirt, no doubt.
Yeah, I only give with my overflow, something like that, where it's like, you're right, like pour into yourself. You know, I don't know everyone's situation, right? But where is that time for yourself where you have an hour or two, you know, is it in the morning before the day goes, or is it at this specific time? I mean, that's so important. If you don't have that ritual, it's very difficult to have purpose. It's very difficult to find love for yourself. So no, I love that. But anyways, go ahead and continue with this high rock stuff. This sounds so much fun.
Wait, I got one thing to add, like that pouring into yourself at the beginning of the day. Moving it up for me was the biggest thing in recent like 8 weeks that has done that exact thing. Because it's like you hit literally 8 a.m. and you're like, whoa, I've done all this for myself already. Like I can go worry about everything else and nothing else really matters. And it's such a great feeling. So like I so resonate with that. And I know how little changes like that can make a world of a difference. And also too, you know, we should definitely make that as a shirt. We should really consider
honestly, the macro perspective, like give with your overflow. I mean, it's so true. I mean, it's tough. Like it's tough. I mean, you know, I'm not a parent. She's not a parent, but you know, if you're constantly being drained, it's like, what can you give? I mean, one of my biggest people that I'm
giving here, man.
Yeah.
This is giving into like 2 people that have meant a lot in my career, you know, so far. And it's you know, this is a 1-hour experience that we all just sat down and are talking about something that hopefully, you know, the audience can enjoy. So like you just talked about dedicating the time in the morning and time with like colleagues, even though this is like, we can call it quote work, it's still not really work. It's just us working on ourselves. We're working on giving information
some internal,
to people, you know, ideally. So anyway, sorry. Like I just,
I
want to touch on that too. It mattered a lot. So
no, what I like about that too is, you know, I got to see, other than Ed Milet, and I know Ed Milet's one of Ed Milet's mentors is Tony Robbins. So now we're getting in this part of the world. I met Tony 8 years ago, and I got to like jump with him on stage, just like not on stage, but like right there, because at like 1 a.m. he invited us down, and there was only like 10 people left jumping with him at like 1 a.m. You know, I went to one of his Unleash Power things, but he said something that I think it always resonates with me, and I think this is, I don't know how this might come across for some people, but you have to have a certain level of selfishness as a person to be able to give back. He uses that analogy of, hey, if a plane is crashing and the masks come down, who will you put the mask on first? Your kids or yourself? You've got to put it on yourself first. Why? Well, if you put on the kid first and you're passing out while that's happening, well, what's going to happen then? You can't save your kids. You have to put it on yourself first. And I think that comes true for me. I resonate with the morning training. I love training in the morning. It's the first thing I do. It's like a meditation for me. It sets the tone for the rest of the day. And I am all in when I'm giving myself. And then by the time that the end of the day comes, that's okay. I've already given everything I need for me. Any other distractions or any other needs, I'm open to it, emotionally, spiritually, whatever it is, because I've given for myself. So I just wanted to touch that, like, yes, sometimes you can't necessarily give with everything unless you haven't given yourself what you need. It's just like a plant. You have to give it sun. You have to give it water. You got to give it nutrients. That's what we are as people. We're just plants. We just got to get a little bit of everything, right?
Even if it's just for 5 minutes in the morning. I see that with a lot of my mom clients. Just take 10 minutes before you start making breakfast for everyone in the house. Like get up 10 minutes earlier, breathe, drink your coffee, and just take 10 minutes to yourself before pouring. Like it truly changes the trajectory of your day. And it's worth it. So
it really is. Marcos, any other questions, my man?
I mean, we might just have to, let's just wrap it up, man. I feel like we got a lot of great things that we can come back to and hopefully get feedback from our audience, Reagan's audience, and see what they liked. And if we want to go deeper into something in the future, of course, this is just, again, a bunch of people enjoying each other's times and getting to know each other a little bit more. And thank you for sharing your story. It was really impactful, and you got me thinking about a lot of things, you know, and I appreciate that big time.
Yeah, it's only been an hour. That was like really fast, and I feel like we haven't really unpacked anything, Reagan. I was like, oh, we were just on the cusp. Talking, but I know we want to be respectful of your time and the audience's time. And I just do want to ask, you know, you have your own podcast. You are on the platforms. Would you mind sharing where people can find you, what your podcast is, all this stuff, so that people can reach out and get to know you a little more.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. And I mean, we could have talked another whole hour on here, I think. But my Instagram is my name, so it's Reagan and then N Davis 1. And then my podcast is Made for More podcast. And that's just been a quote that's kind of been on my heart for the past few years, is that I think we're made for more than so much more than we settle for, and that we hold ourselves back. So that was kind of the purpose behind that, but it's about health. We talk a little bit about everything. We like nutrition on weekends, relationships. We talked about finances. So kind of hitting all little pockets, but just trying to keep it real and just provide value just like you guys are.
Authenticity.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'll make sure to include that at the notes so people can follow and go take a look at go take a listen. And are you doing both audio and video? Just audio?
Just Spotify and Apple, yeah.
Gotcha, which I need to ask you questions about later. But we'll include that in our show notes. And then hopefully we'll be on that other platform too, because I need to ask you that question about like what service do you use to help get it uploaded. So cool. Seamus, anything else?
Honestly, I just want to give the audience a little message here. I know we went deep into, hey, what nutrition protocols, what do you do? But if there's one thing you can take away from this talk with Reagan, is it's find a purpose. And what Marcos also said is make it fun. Don't get so caught up in your goals that the goals, you become a slave to the goals, that it just is that's the only meaning that you have left. Have fun with it. Enjoy the process. And once in a while, take a look around and go, how can I make this fun? How can I make this purposeful? And that way you're just not kind of stuck in the weeds of things. So I hope everyone enjoyed it. Guys, please like, comment, share. I love this episode. Love speaking with Reagan. Definitely going to have that again. Marcos, anything else?
No, I'm just fucking around with the banner at the bottom of the screen.
Have fun here.
Yeah, nothing else. I think that's great. Yeah, find a purpose, have fun with it, enjoy the journey, right? Like I feel like this is a message that is constantly articulated in everybody in the health and wellness podcast space. And I'm glad that like we didn't start there, but it got there somehow. Like, so obviously like that's such a key takeaway. So, all right, let's wrap it up. And thank you all for listening. Until next time.